Hello again, Jim with you. Some time ago, a viewer asked me to do a gear video, and I didn't really think that I had gear that was all that exceptional, but I thought that today I would do a video of one of my favorite pieces of do-it-yourself gear, a gear hammock. Found a nice little spot here. Start getting things set up. Found this trick on YouTube some time ago. It's a little bit wet on the ground right now, but I never like to put my pack on the ground. Just keep it away from critters and insects. Take about a 6-foot piece of paracord, doubled over, around and through, up on itself. Not sure what this knot is called. 3.5 inch, 4 inch piece of hardwood down. And then just hang the pack up by its strap. Gear's easy to access, stays off the ground, keeps the bugs out. Just make sure the tree doesn't have sap running down the side of it. Not that I know from personal experience how hard it can be to clean that off the pack and your back, but trust me, look for sap on the tree before you hang your pack up. Gear hammock. Made this shortly after I started hammock camping. And for suspension, all it uses is 2 of these figure 9s and about a 6 or 8 foot piece of this reflective cord. And to hang it, get 2 trees, reasonable distance apart, anywhere from say 4 to 8 feet. Run the cord around the tree. Through the figure 9, lock it off. Keep tension. Around the other tree. The other figure 9. Take up some tension. There you go. Hung up, ready to use. Gear hammock hung up. This is the first one I made after I started hammock camping. I made it because I wanted a better place to keep the gear as I took it out of the pack. When you're unloading, usually the stuff that I use for insulation I put in the bottom of the pack. And so it got to be a question of what do you do with all the other stuff while you're trying to get down to the bottom of the pack. And also, it's just hard to find things inside a pack when it's hanging up. Here's what's inside. On this half, I've got my tarp and its suspension. I could have stored it wet from dew, damp, whatever. Put that there for a minute. And on this side, I've got my hammock. So if my tarp had been wet from dew, whatever, it would be on that side, isolated from the hammock would still be dry. This is the first one that I made. I actually made it deeper than it needed to be. So how do you make one of these? It's real easy. Get a rectangular piece of fabric, about twice as deep as you need. Hem the edges, fold it over like an envelope with a shallow flap at the top. Sew it together. The one tip that I've got for you is don't sew it all the way down to the bottom. Leave a little bit of a gap in case water ever does get inside, it can run out. Attach some Velcro to seal it shut. 1/2 inch nylon strap at the edge to attach the suspension to, and you're good to go. So once you get to where you're going to set up camp, take out your tarp, set your tarp up, get a dry place to work. I'm going to put this over here for just a minute. And then you want to unload your pack after you've got everything set up. And you just Grab stuff out of the pack. Put it in the gear hammock. All right, let me show you a close-up of how I made it. A rectangular piece of fabric, about twice this deep. You can see that the top is just a couple inches. I'd actually make that a little bit bigger. So the edges include a short piece of 1/2 inch nylon strapping to attach your suspension. Put on some Velcro. In this one, I added this pocket to the front of it. It's a handy place to put the stakes for the tarp or a tent. But that was prototype number 1. Let me put this away, get out number 2, which I think was a significant improvement over number 1. This is the second one I made. Now, notice the shape. The shape is roughly rectangular. Notice the shape of the front pocket of the pack. Most gear that we get seems to come in a cylindrical form. But if you look closely at these pack pockets, they're often rectangular. I sized this gear hammock to fit this pocket. I actually could have made it just a little bit wider, but it makes better use of the space in the front pocket of a pack than the way we normally get gear, which is cylindrical. The other thing about iteration number 2 is I made it out of the PU coated, it sheds water. That's crucial. The sil-nylon can absorb water. This sheds water. I find that this was much better material to use. It's slick. You can actually feel it. The other thing I want to point out is how it folds in half. One side does not impact the other side. If your tarp or your rain fly is wet, your tent body or your hammock can stay dry. Very handy feature, because often I find either the rain fly or the tarp is wet or damp when I have to put it away and get going. The other thing about having the gear hammock hold your tent or tarp is the inside contents of your pack won't get damp. Let's get this put up. Same process. 2 trees, 4 to 7, 8 feet across. Put up the figure 9. Get some tension on it. Hold the tension. Over to the other tree. The other figure 9. That's it. This is the second gear hammock I made. No pockets. Only 2 pieces of Velcro, one on either side as opposed to one in the middle. Makes it easier to fold it in half. This is the one I use for my tent. Here's the tent body on this side. Rain fly, footprint over on this side. I don't put the tent in the gear hammock because they're too tall. So the tent go in the pack, just like normal. But the same process, take out footprint, set up the rain fly, the tent, after the gear hammock is emptied. Now the gear that you don't want to put in the tent with you can just live out here. My last trip to Algonquin, I had several very brazen ground squirrels, and several times I caught them actually in my pack, even though my pack was empty. There was nothing in it for them to get, but they were still inside, standing there looking at me. And not once did I see them make the trip across the cord and get into the gear hammock. Does that mean that ground squirrels, chipmunks, aren't going to get in here? No, but I will say that I saw them in the pack several times, but I never once saw them in the gear hammock. This one is a better design than the other one, but it's still very easy to make. I'll show you some key construction differences on this second iteration versus the first one. Instead of sewing the ends together, what I did was I got a small piece of rectangular fabric, just a couple inches across, and I had that for the end instead of sewing the ends together and pinching it. Just gives it a better shape when it's in the pack, and it's a bit more manageable. For the flap, I did not sew the flap down as I did on the other one. I think that worked better. For the suspension, I actually ran the suspension, the strap, the black nylon strap, right around this top edge, which I think does a better job of holding it up. But aside from that, it's the same as the other one. It's just a simple rectangle. The edge is hemmed. This time though, sewed in these rectangles to make the side, as opposed to just sewing it flat shut. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Let me go put this away, find a nice spot somewhere, hike a little bit more. I'm going to set up the hammock and maybe have second breakfast, a cup of coffee, talk about some future plans, maybe go over some things that I forgot to mention. Be back in a minute. Get the pack hung up first. Bright colored paracord, 4-inch hardwood dowel, I don't know what this nut is called. It's that one where when you slide the dowel through the nut, you pull the dowel out and it all comes apart. Pack's hung up. You got the gear hammock. Around the one tree. Take up the tension. Second tree, lock it off. Suspension for the hammock. One-inch polyester webbing with a loop sewn in the end. Four-inch hardwood dowel. Hammock. I use whoopee slings for the suspension. Never hang your hammock higher than you're willing to fall, right? All right. Let's get some stuff out of the pack. All right. Tent poles, not going to need those. Cook kit. We'll get to that in a minute. Propane. All the way at the bottom, got this camping blanket that I use for insulation in the hammock when I'm just going to be sitting around in it. Storage sack. Back in the gear hammock, doesn't get lost. No reason not to be comfortable. Propane, cook kit. Water. Saw a video recently where someone was saying that people that put these little black caps on their propane canisters could save themselves a tiny fraction of weight. Now you got to be a real gram weenie to worry about this. The bigger concern to me is what would happen if you got a little piece of dirt, sand, grit down in that hole that the propane comes out. The canister could either leak all over the place or be useless. And that is more important to me than saving some tenths of a gram in plastic. Favorite long-handled titanium spoon. This is a GSI Dualist Halulite aluminum cook pot. I like this a lot. You know, it occurred to me I have all four of the major kinds of cook sets. I've got alcohol, propane, twig stove, and white gas. I may just do a video comparing the four major types of cook sets. See if there's any interest in it. Sea to Summit mug. The bowl that comes with the cook set. There we go. Inside the mug, stove and a lighter. There. This is a Gigapower stove. It's the one with the igniter built in. The igniter broke. I expected it to break. It's not worth the replacement, not worth the cost to replace. There we go. I think I'm actually going to do second breakfast today. I'm going to have some oatmeal and a cup of coffee. I'm going to go on for a pretty good training hike. Probably do about 5 miles, I think. I don't usually use this as a coffee mug, but I think I'll give it another try today. We'll see how it goes. We'll do the oatmeal first, then we'll do the coffee in here. And not just oatmeal. Oatmeal with Justin's peanut butter and honey. Love this stuff. Alright, well I'm going to cook up breakfast and I'll get back with you after we got the coffee going. Waiting for the water to get hot. Already have the coffee in this bowl slash mug. Oatmeal was good, especially adding that peanut butter packet. If you've never added peanut butter and or honey to your oatmeal, I strongly recommend it. It does a lot to give it more staying power, say that, in addition to just making it more tasty. Alright, I think that's had enough. Now the thing to know about using this bowl as a mug is you use the lid in reverse. Stir carefully. The nice thing about having a cup of coffee in the same mug I did the oatmeal in, it does a really good job of rinsing out the oatmeal. Much easier to clean up after coffee than after oatmeal that's had peanut butter put in it. Alright. Now. Cheers. After I finish this coffee, I'm going to pack up and go for a training hike, day hike, giving serious consideration to doing a very scenic 482-mile trail this summer. I can't decide if I want to do just the first half of it or do all of it. Being away from home for 3 weeks to over a month is not something to do lightly, even when you're an old retired guy. The thing about planning a long hike, last year it was the Foothills Trail, is the motivation that you get throughout the winter months. So I hope you enjoyed this video about gear hammocks. I found it to be extremely handy and a better way to store things than the stuff that you get with a piece of kit. Cylindrical storage sacks that you get with hammocks and tarps. The bag that came with the tent. By the way, in case you're wondering, the bag that came with the tent was good only for storing the tent and the poles. And the gear hammock that I made for the tent weighs only 1/4 ounce more than the bag the tent came with, and that includes the suspension on the gear hammock for the tent. So if you were curious about weights, it's pretty much a wash. I think we'll finish off the coffee, get packed up, do a 5 or 6 mile training hike, start editing this video. So please subscribe, like, and share. Till next time. Ready to travel.